Welcome to The Wedding Edit, a wedding planning podcast for the modern couple. We are your hosts, Kelly and Dana. So today we've got the lovely Amy Parfett, co-founder of Wedshed. Welcome, Amy.
Welcome.
Thank you, ladies. Thanks so much for having me.
I hope I pronounced your surname correctly. Sorry if I didn't.
You made it sound way more fancy. I just go Parfett. It's
Parfett?
So Australian. Parfett. Yeah, but it's
Parfett
is
very like French sounding.
It does sound.
It is very French sounding. I think I might just adapt it without telling my husband.
Yeah,
This is how we say
It could be parfait. Yeah.
So let's just get straight into it. Tell us, what is Wedshed, and how do you guys help engage couples?
Sure. So Wedshed is an online platform that helps couples create a day that says, this is us. For us, we've always thought that weddings should be a reflection of the two people getting married and not about traditions or any of the sort of fluff and fancy that can come along with it.
Yeah.
And so that's really what we try and do with all of with our digital platform. It primarily is a wedding directory, so you can find amazing wedding venues and wedding vendors from right across Australia, New Zealand, and a little bit of Bali in there as well.
Ooh.
And then we've also got a whole bunch of different planning resources, blogs, advice, and inspiration as well to help you actually get it done. I guess what we found is that there are so many incredible platforms and media outlets that are out there that do an amazing job of inspiring and showing people what weddings can look like. And for us, we really wanted to, I guess, kind of our point of difference is that we aim to give really practical step-by-step advice on how to actually make all that beauty and all of those good feels actually happen as well, and to help people feel less alone if they, find themselves feeling surprised or overwhelmed at all in the wedding planning process. Because, most of us, for most of us, it's the first time we've ever done it before. And so, yeah, we're trying to be a place and a community that people can lean on each other and do it in a way that feels right for them.
Yeah, and you guys do a great job of that, I have to say. You often put little tips up, and I'm always resharing them for my couples as well. So, yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
When you guys first started, you mainly were like about venues, weren't you? Yeah.
We really were. That was kind of how we sort of first positioned it. And I guess that's kind of how we were first able to get a bit of traction on the site, because we sort of framed it as that we were trying to be an Airbnb for wedding venues. Because I'm probably skipping ahead a little bit, but we found ourselves in a position where we knew that we were on the path with our partners. We were going to be getting married eventually. And one of our close girlfriends she was getting married and her wedding venue fell through about 6 weeks before she was due to get married. And so came to us because my business partner, Mel, is like this, she's like a Sherlock Holmes of Google. Like, she's just this amazing super sleuth and can find literally anything online. So asked us to try and help her find a wedding venue, and we just jumped online and couldn't find anything out there. There were definitely places where there were collections of venues, but nothing that was curated or really spoke to us.
Yeah.
It was kind of all just whoever's willing to pay to play.
Yeah.
And so we thought, well, we've been traveling around the world for years now. Like, this is the point, we were living in London at the time. We've been, renting private properties to go and stay on holidays at. The share economy is booming. Like, why is no one doing this specifically for weddings if they're willing to, rent their properties out for other life events? And at the same time, we also grew up with families that had family farms. And so we'd spent a lot of time as kids playing in hay sheds and all these underutilized spaces that we were like, why can't we bring this all together so it future-proofs farms as well for the next generation and provides another commercial opportunity.
Yeah.
So, yeah, wedding venues was kind of our bread and butter, and it still is a huge portion of our business. We also have a wedding venue management arm of the business where we look after properties to help the weddings happen there. But then we realized pretty quickly after launching that there were plenty of amazing wedding vendors that came and were like, hey, why can't you list us as well? Like, we want to be connected to all of these venues too, and to have another platform to try and connect with, like-minded couples. And so that's kind of where
it's branched out.
We were
there.
like,
yeah.
Why would we be exclusive just to venues? Like, we want to put the whole industry on a pedestal.
It makes sense too. If people are coming to your website to look for venues, they may as well be able to access suppliers from that as well.
Yeah.
So
completely. Yeah. It's like the next logical step.
Amy, what advice would you give to couples looking for their wedding venue?
I have a lot of advice to give. I think I'll share a few tips. My first would be, and this is going to be really boring, but it's good to keep a tentative budget in mind.
Oh, absolutely.
And I say tentative because budgets, they change. And I think a lot of people come into planning a wedding without sort of nutting out their budget. And that's a completely different conversation that we could have as well about how to be realistic about your budget. But I think, having a tentative budget in mind helps because it's going to immediately rule out a bunch of places and you're not going to get disappointed. And also it's good to be aware that blank canvas doesn't necessarily mean cheaper as well.
Yeah,
so there are plenty of
people always think that.
Oh, and I learned that firsthand the hard way. I think for my wedding, I was like, I'm going to spend, $15K, and we hired a hay shed, and then you realize, $15K is going to get me tables and chairs and a floor.
And then you need power, and then you need
power, water, like a place for your caterers to do stuff. If you want to make it look pretty, then you've got all of the decorative details as well. And anyway, I was very naive, and so we try and help couples realize. Just having thought about your budget to start with, when at the very beginning when you're thinking about trying to find your venue, it's definitely going to help you down the road. And then trying to define where you want to get married as well. So, if you know that you're happy to get married within, like, say, a 3-hour radius of where you live, that's a great thing. It just kind of helps you to narrow down, so you're not just opening up the barriers to the whole state or the whole of Australia or wherever it might be. And then if you know where you want to get married roughly or what sort of region, it's helpful because you can check the region's tourism websites and just make sure that you're not trying to book a date where there's already a major event on and there's going to be a shortage of beds there.
Yeah,
so
that's a really good tip.
Because and I mean, the good thing about weddings is there's such generally a long lead time, particularly for destination weddings. So you can get save the dates out to people, to your guests, and they can lock that accommodation in. But you don't want to be competing if you know that there's like the once a year event on the exact same time that you're getting married, because the pubs are going to be full, the restaurants are going to be full, there won't be taxis,
it's going to be like 3 times as expensive,
and then like the traffic as well.
Yeah,
absolutely, all of the above. And then when it comes to sort of like getting nitty gritty and trying to find venues, obviously there's different platforms out there that aggregate venues together. But I would say go onto Google and use Google search in a more creative way. A lot of people will type in, say they wanted to get married in like the Adelaide Hills, they might type in Adelaide Hills wedding venue. But rather than just sort of scouring down the search of like the answers that come up in Google, go to the image section, because the what comes up on that main page of Google is going to be limited to who has either A, the biggest ad spend budget, or B, the best SEO. And you're not necessarily going to find really cool up and coming venues or new spaces. But by going to the image tab in Google, then you're going to come up with, you'll discover different photographers or stylists, or you'll find it kind of just is like a completely new search engine basically. And you can do the same thing on Instagram as well. So search via location or via hashtag as well.
Yeah,
in fact,
right.
We've found heaps of new properties just by being a bit stalky that way. The last tip I would give now is also just be like open to asking local wedding vendors for their advice, because they're the ones that have got firsthand experience working there. And, different wedding vendors, they're not going to recommend a place that's crap, because they obviously want to work at good properties that have their shit together, that are have great facilities, because it's going to make their life easier and it's also going to uplift their brand. So we always think it's great to rely on vendors' recommendations, because it comes from a good, genuine place as well. So
right.
That's some advice. I've got a whole bunch more, but I'll save it.
So if you have a couple, and they jump on your website and they're like searching, let's say, hypothetically Adelaide Hills, and they can't find the right venue for them, or there's just something missing from each one, is it okay for them to reach out and ask you guys if do you offer a service around sort of venue searching or sourcing?
Yes, absolutely. Reach out to us. I was going to say, like, we do we treat ourselves like a wedding charity. We joke that we're a wedding charity because we do, like we've got such a big list of different venues and vendors that we would love to work with. And so if anyone, is struggling to try and find a venue and they just haven't been able to find anything on Wedshed that is suitable for them, for sure, just send us a DM and we'll be able to flick back, I'm sure, a whole bunch of different options that are sort of on our radar that are yet to partner with us.
Awesome. That's great. So what advice would you give to couples when looking for other wedding suppliers?
I would say first and foremost, you want to like their work.
Yeah.
That's pretty much a given. But also you want to like them as humans as well, because you're going to be spending a lot of time with them, particularly for certain vendors that you're going to be like, you'll spend a lot of time with them on the day, like your photographer, your celebrant, you're very intimately connected with because you're sharing your love story. In fact, pretty much all of your suppliers, you want to forge a personal relationship with them. So it makes the process of actually working a lot easier. You've got that steady, easy stream of communication. So I think like that's super important. Like their work and like who they are as well. If you can find reviews on their work as well and see how other couples have enjoyed working with them, then that's helpful too. But I think, and this is probably echoing a little bit what I said for finding venues, but I would also say get recommendations from other vendors that you've locked in that you like and trust their opinion as well, because they'll similarly only want to work with the best of the best in order to raise their profile too and their own brand.
Yeah. And they know who they work well with as well, and who I think are cut from the same cloth, so to speak. And if you are, like, say if you're a photographer and you know that you get on super well with your couple and that you click super well, then you know that they're going to click well with who you click well with as well.
Yeah. And also, like, for me, I only want to work with people that I know are reliable. Yeah. Like, they do quality work. So, often I think there's a bit of people think, or couples are out there probably think we only want to work with our mates, but there's a reason why we become, good friends with people in the industry. It's because we work well together. We trust that they're going to do an amazing job. They're going to show up on time, and whether it's a product or service they're providing, it's going to be really good. So, there's a reason why we're friends with that person.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. And this is
they're
it. This is your profession as well. They're good humans and they're good at what they do.
Exactly, yeah.
No one would ever jeopardize their career or their reputation by working with someone just because they're friends with them as well. And
so true.
I think that's something, we learned coming into the wedding industry, because my business partner Mel and I had never worked in the wedding space before starting Wedshed, but we realized like it is just full of legends that, work so well together and are just so intrinsically creative as well. And so I think it's beautiful, the fact that that so many people in this space are mates and that we all get to work together as well.
Yeah.
And, as a couple, you want your whole team to be having a great time on the day too, because it, makes their work life more enjoyable. And I feel like that comes out and is reflected in the service that they provide too.
Yeah.
In terms of other advice, I would say it's good to, where you can, if it makes sense for you, to try and book locally as well, because it means you're supporting the local region, which is an awesome thing. And you also end up reducing your travel expenses, because you're not necessarily having to pay for the petrol or the accommodation for that supplier to come out. But, if that makes sense too. And to lock in vendors that are multidisciplinary, like say, for example, Kelly, you do styling, you do hire, like you've got multiple different things that you can offer. It saves, you having to
charge
pay
delivery
extra for logistics.
That's right. Yeah, because we're going there on the day anyway. I often say that you're not paying for me to send a driver out to deliver the items. Yeah. And same with video and photo, I suppose. You're not paying for two different suppliers to travel there, as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes it just a little bit more economical for you and just less of a muck around and, logistical nightmare when it comes to the organisation side of things.
Yeah, when you're liaising with your suppliers, it's one less person to, coordinate, isn't it? If you've got, say, styling and hire together, or photo, video, or I'm trying to think of another example, like if your caterer can do your cake as well.
Well, and I suppose also having your ceremony reception at the same place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just streamlining just makes such a difference.
Music even is a good example. Like there's people out there that offer the acoustic duo to the band to the DJ, so you can get everything from one supplier, which streamlines it all for the couple. Yeah, less planning and organising.
It often makes it more affordable as well.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, there's so many different pros to it, really, right?
Yeah.
So, Amy, can you tell me about some of the amazing resources that Wedshed has for couples?
Yeah, absolutely. So on Wedgeshed, we have what we're calling Wedstore. Like, not very creative, of course, but Wedstore makes total sense. So within there, we've got a bunch of different digital resources that you can download and use to kind of just give you a bit of a leg up in planning your wedding. One would be like a set your wedding priorities exercise, which is the first thing that we recommend couples do, just to try and get on this right path and, you know, aligned with each other. We've got an ultimate wedding worksheet, which has in it a budget that's already pre-filled out and will like change its numbers depending on what your wedding budget is. So that's really helpful. Wedding run sheet, venue viewing checklist, a vow writing guide, and a whole bunch of other things as well. But then we realized that, you know, it's great to have all these individual resources, but we were fielding questions from so many couples that just wanted more sort of personalised advice or advice on sort of like actual broader topics than just what these resources could provide. So we went ahead and built a big wedding planning subscription basically, or a membership, if you will, called We Do Crew. And that combines all of those digital resources in one place, and you pay per month. There's no lock-in, so if you don't like it, you can just cancel anytime. We don't trap people. We're not beholden. We're not Telstra.
So they can access all of those things you mentioned, like those resources, if they have
can
a
access
membership.
all of those things. Yeah. And then within there as well, we've got what we call Wedipedia, which is kind of like a massive encyclopedia. It's like literally everything that we know about getting married. We've put into 6 massive modules with all, 60 something chapters in it. It took us about a year to write, and it's a beast.
Yeah.
Pretty much we go through like all the different stages from getting started to the planning to like the lead up, which is we sort of classify as like that sort of final 6 to 8 weeks, to on the day and then post wedding. And we break it down of all the different things that you might want to think about at all those different stages. It's
like a textbook for your wedding.
Fill it out. It is, and you can just drop into what stage you're at. So it's helpful if you're only a month out from your wedding and you just like shivers, what are the checklists that I need to do? How do I write my speech? Like we've got a speech writing workshop in there as well. There's lots of videos. We've got templates in there for like all the hard curly questions that you might, have to field, or kind of the situations you find yourself in when you're planning a wedding. So for example, one that comes up a lot we find is when someone wrongly assumes that they're going to be in the wedding party and they're like, we can't wait to be part of the wedding party. Like, what do you say to that person without making it super awkward for each other and breaking that, or, potentially damaging that friendship? So we've kind of taken all of those awkward situations and given word for word answers as well. Then we also have brand discounts in there. So like discounts for the Iconic, Adore Beauty, for Bare Shoes, a whole bunch of jewelry brands, just stuff that, we're like, people are, they're either purchasing for themselves or they're purchasing gifts for loved ones, or maybe the wedding party if they're having one as well. So it's just kind of like nice to have some perks in there, and it kind of ends up being, if you use them, you pay the subscription's paid for itself basically. As well as a whole bunch of member Q&As too. So that's We Do Crew in a nutshell.
How much is the subscription?
It's $33 a month. Or if you wanted to get a discount and you knew that we were 6 months out or 12 months out, then we apply like a 25%-ish. Maths is not my thing. But there's a bigger discount that's applied to it if you sort of like, if you paid for like a longer period of time.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, if you just want to jump in, even if you don't, it doesn't feel right to you, or you just want to try it, you can pay $33. It's actually going to be cheaper to pay $33 to get all these resources than to buy a single standalone resource alone.
That's
anyway.
What I was thinking as well. And then also the discounts as well that you're talking about. Like it absolutely makes so much sense to do it. I was thinking even for me to just do it, even though I'm not
just
getting married.
Get discounts on shoes.
But actually,
just want a new pair of bars.
Or the Iconic,
We should totally advertise that. Yeah, it's just a discount shopping platform, really.
It's not just about the wedding, it's about all stages
No.
in life.
Yeah, you probably won't want to unsubscribe, because we're constantly adding new discounts in there. So, yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah. And so the other thing that we want to ask you about today is about your new gravy registry, which we've heard a little bit about. Can you tell us all about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So Gravy is a digital registry that allows you to give and receive gifts of money, which is, we know that's the biggest thing that couples want these days, but also of gifts of time, energy, and good deeds from your loved ones. And so, speaking from my own experience, at our wedding, we had the wishing well, which is, the kind of box that you have at the wedding, and people put very lovely and generous and gratefully received, envelopes of cash and card in there. But on the flip side, like when my husband and I were opening up our gifts from our friends, it just felt a bit funny to us to just kind of open these cards and just have this wad of cash at the end of it. And when it comes to gifting, friends that we've been to or family members at their wedding, we've always felt a little bit funny about just putting money into a card and kind of giving it away. It just felt a bit impersonal. And also it was kind of just a bit inconvenient. Like we always found ourselves being like, oh, shivers, the wedding's in 10 minutes, like where's the nearest ATM sort of thing. And like, let me get a really crap card from the local news agency or Woolworths, because I'm not an organised person. For others, it might be different. But anyway, we knew that people, what modern couples want as a wedding gift is cash. They've already probably lived together. They've got all the appliances and bed sheets and cheese boards that they could possibly need. But it's awkward to ask for money. So by using Gravy, you can communicate what you're going to use those funds for. So you create a digital registry, which is basically like a kind of, I guess, that's got a lovely list of the different things you might want to put that money towards. So it could be a honeymoon fund, bathroom renovations, extended studies, IVF funds, whatever it might be, a puppy fund. But then you can also ask for stuff that might not cost your guests a cent. So you can ask your guests to give blood on your behalf, or adopt a koala, or come and help us build a veggie garden, or like regrout my bathroom or paint my house.
That's why you had puppy sitting as well.
Puppy sitting.
Sitting. Yeah, exactly. And for me, I'm one of those, I'm one of those people that goes on a road trip and has to check the pouches of every animal on the side of the road. And so like that would be on my wedding. Like I know it's my husband rations me to so many dead animals per road trip.
That's so sweet.
It's a bit depressing. But you can put really personal. My point being, you can create completely like personalized templates for gifts as well. So for me, it would be like, please check the pouch on the next time that you go on a road trip, because we were like, so many people during the pandemic that either did quite well or they might have struggled during the pandemic. Like I know we in the wedding industry got absolutely kneecapped, and financially it was super hard. Going to a wedding is expensive. Getting married is expensive. And we're all more conscious of the rising cost of living. So it was like, what can we do? How can we help people lean on their community more and recognize that gifts, it's not just about, tangible, or I guess like stuff that you have to pay for as well.
Yeah.
There's more to gifting than things that money can buy. And a lot of the time those things are disproportionately valuable as well.
Yeah.
Like someone might have been happy to give you $150 as a wedding gift, but if they were happy to come in or paint you an artwork, or help bake your wedding cake, or come and like Marie Kondo your house or something, that time is actually going to be more valuable than the $150 that they were going to chuck in the envelope for you too.
Yeah.
So like, let's say I was like, you know what I could do with some artwork for my wall? I'm going to put that on the registry. What if, old Aunt Sue paints some horrendous, can you nominate someone? Like if you've got an artist in your family, can you actually nominate that to that person or not?
That is definitely on our roadmap of things to do.
Yeah, because I was like, I don't know whether to ask this question because I don't want to make it look like it's something you guys haven't thought of, but I was just thinking,
imagine if Aunt Sue did like naked artworks.
Like Aunt Sue that draws stick people
No, when you use like your naked body to paint, like that's a thing that people do.
Or what if you're like, I need someone to regrout my, like you said, tiles in the bathroom, and one of your mates that's not even a qualified, tiler
says,
I'll do that.
Some people are really good at tiling though.
Look, you don't have to be a qualified tiler, but can you imagine if someone goes, look, I'll save myself getting them a gift. I'll just regrout their bathroom for them. I've got no idea what I'm doing.
Oh, it's completely a valid question and definitely something we've thought of. I think in the future of Gravy, like as we sort of continue to build out this product, maybe some gifts will only be visible to particular guests that you
That's
want.
a great
That's
idea.
a cool idea, yeah. But I mean, it's such a great idea, even
is,
as it is. Like, it was just something funny I thought of with the whole artwork thing.
Totally valid. And look, our plan is to open it up to all gifting milestones very soon. And so it'll be open for birthdays, anniversaries, farewells.
So cool. Yeah.
If you want to I think for us, speaking personally for me, I find myself with 2 young kids at Kmart every second weekend trying to buy some, $15 piece of junk that's just going to go up in landfill. And so if you could, help parents be able to be like, hey, we're collecting funds, or, if you want to contribute $10, we're going to get little Finn a bike for his birthday, to avoid, that inconvenience, that we're also time poor. We don't want to spend money on stuff that's wasteful anymore.
That's such a good idea.
Much of gifting is wasteful.
Especially kids' birthdays.
Especially kids' birthdays, especially raising money for, teachers, or, if a couple wanted to gift their vendor or something like that at the end of it as well, they'll be able to also search for values-based gifts as well. So you'll be able to search, because we'll plug in gift cards, we'll plug in a curated collection of physical gifts as well. So you can be like, I really want to spend $50. I want it to be from a company that is female-founded or BIPOC founded, that is sustainably led, or vegan-friendly, or whatever it might be. Yeah. So we're kind of trying to change the way that we gift, make it more about the meaning behind it, because gifting somewhere along the way lost all the joy, we feel, and became this chore. And that's not what gifting should be about. It should be about, sharing love to your community and the people that mean something to you.
That's awesome. I love that. You've really made it something that people can connect with, rather than just chucking money in a card. As someone giving a gift, you can really connect with your values, and you can give something that really aligns to your values and, is something useful to the couple or whoever's receiving the gift as well. I love that.
Is there a possibility also for couples to put in a link to something that they want?
Yes. And so that is something that we've seen couples do as well. It's kind of I'm going to put inverted commas, but kind of hack Gravy. So they will put in a link to something physical that they want, and then they'll write in the description, if you want this, they'll put a price at $0 to it, and then someone can claim that gift and actually bring it on the day. Oh,
that's
as well.
Amazing. So and then it can just kind of disappear from the site so that people don't then buy it again.
That's exactly right.
So good.
I'm thinking about
sort of
Christmas
blank out and say,
Christmas.
I've done it.
Open it up.
We've actually, it's so perfect for Christmas. We've seen people do it for kids' birthdays, for engagement parties. I think we've had a 30th birthday come and use it as well, even though it's not actually opened up for that sort of thing yet. But we are all for repurposing. And it will be officially kind of open for all gifting soon. But Christmas, go for gold.
One thing I thought of that this would be really good for is that when you get back from your honeymoon, obviously you've paid off all these vendors and then spent a lot of money on your honeymoon, and you come back and you might be a little bit strapped for cash, but then your friends are getting married, or people are getting engaged, or there's birthdays and things like that. So I think something that your friends could kind of gift you as well is shouting your dinner at your friend's birthday at a winery or something like that, just because you will
absolutely.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah, completely. And I think that's it. We sort of acknowledge that money it can be really tight, and particularly in this wedding stage of your life, you're really having to look closely at how much money is coming in and going out right now. And so it's one of those platforms that we're hopeful will kind of take that pressure out and also connect people at the same time. And we sort of feel there's so many times where you think, oh, that person, is going through something, or maybe they've been 1 year sober, or they're a year in remission, or there's so many different ways and reasons to give. Maybe they just dumped some dickhead and your friends want to acknowledge that, or they're moving out for the first time. And
divorce parties. No, we shouldn't talk about that on this. We're talking about weddings. But, no.
It's 100% it though, if it's a divorce
delete
party.
That.
Sorry, I feel like I'm going on a tangent.
I have this thought that the name, it's because of a gravy boat, right? Because people give a gravy boat. Is that it? It was like a movie.
So it's kind of like that, right? So gravy, when you were sort of naming a business is a really funny thing, right? Because it's like you're pulling a name out of nowhere. But gravy worked for us for that reason, that like particularly in the US, gravy boat is such a common wedding gift or like a classic wedding gift. But also gravy is also like a word that's synonymous with good. So it's all gravy. You might have ever, you may have heard, you may not have heard, but it's all gravy, baby. You're also jumping on the gravy train, so you're kind of like getting things as a gift to you as well. So there's kind of like a few ways. And we also thought, sounds very clinical, but we were like, gravy, gifting, we're not going to be having to compete with anyone for SEO because gravy, you type in gravy into Google and it's just literally grey box.
Yeah.
So it's kind of helpful in the cut through.
You're like, I've secretly got a partnership with Greybox as well.
We're working on it.
Yeah. Dana's Will & Co website comes up when people search Greybox. That doesn't make any sense. But anyway, it's just my sense of humour.
What is the tagline for gravy though? Can you tell us what that is? Just so we have it on the podcast.
Yeah. Sure. So gravy, our tagline there is give anything, and we mean anything. So literally we are helping people to be able to give anything they like, whether that's physical gifts, digital ones, or gifts of just their own time and goodwill.
Amy, I'd love to know what the best wedding tip is you've ever heard.
So we ask this question to couples a lot, whose weddings that we feature on the blog, and 95% of the time it comes back with some version of don't sweat the small stuff. And as cliche as it might be, and it is, you really can't argue with the majority. But what I would say, I guess, to kind of add to that is that you should, like our advice, I reckon my best tip would be to make decisions from your gut and do it quickly as well.
Yeah.
So decisions on, depending on how you want your wedding to feel, the size of it, the vendors you want to work with, the people to invite, make those decisions quickly and then move on, because you're going to experience so much FOMO if you're, in the lead up to getting married. It's pretty much a given that you're going to question those decisions that you've made many times.
Yeah.
But what we would say is just know that you made them at a time where you're probably clear-minded enough. It was a good decision that you made. Trust it and don't sweat it. Just move on, because at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter when it's actually on the day. All that matters is it's you and your partner and you're having a good time as well. So hopefully that can help save some people a bit of deliberation and stress as they kind of start to second guess their question or second guess their decisions, because I definitely did. And a lot of the time you go full circle and you realize you've wasted weeks just trying to like make a decision on something, and it was always the first thing that you thought of. So trust your gut and make those decisions quickly.
Yeah, that's good advice. I like that. So Amy, tell us a bit about your background and how Wedshed came about.
So my background professionally was in copywriting, communications, marketing and brand work. And the way that Wedshed sort of came about, I guess my business partner Mel and I had always we knew that we wanted to work together. We've been best friends since we were in primary school. So we've known each other for a very, very long time. And I think it's quite rare to know someone that well and not get sick of them. So we kind of knew that we had a pretty special connection and also very complementary skill sets too. And so we sort of like toed around with a few different harebrained, like probably terrible business ideas before we were living in London. And that's when, the first of our close girlfriends got engaged. Her wedding venue fell through. Yeah. She came to us looking for support and we thought, okay, well, there's actually a gap here. And so I think we probably were sitting on the floor of our tiny London kitchen just drinking wine, and we were like, Airbnb for wedding venues, that's what we should do.
Yeah. My gosh, I love this story so much.
What year did you start Wedshed? Like, how long ago was that?
We started working on it, like actually building like the $2,000 WordPress website of its first iteration back in 2014 and launched it in 2015. We'd come back to Australia at that time, had fallen back into our sort of standard career jobs, and then just had this kind of like, that hot sweat where you're like, I feel like there's something here, we've got to do it. And so I started working, our bosses were very understanding and supportive of us wanting to do our own thing, and so allowed us to go part-time and then eventually full-time into Wedshed. We launched it. No one was paying to, like, there was no fee for our venues to begin with, because we just started with venues for about 6 months, just because we were like, we need to show the traction and build up traffic before we can actually ask anyone to part with their hard-earned bucks. So yeah, my background being in communications and PR was able to kind of generate a bit of earned media. The whole, Airbnb was so hot at the time as well. It was like all you had to do was say Airbnb for wedding venues, and then all of a sudden a newspaper would come knocking. I say that, it's actually not true. It was harder than that. But that's kind of where it sort of all stemmed from. And then, we haven't really looked back. It's been 7 years now, and a pandemic thrown in. So we feel like we're kind of at a point with Wedshed where we'll change a whole bunch of it. The site has, it's very functional, but it's due for a whole bunch of rebranding and stuff. And so, but we love it. The industry that we've been, like, it's such a beautiful industry to work in, and a very happy one too, and gratifying to, help people leave one of their big life milestones with good memories and no regret.
No, it's an awesome idea, and you guys have really built up an amazing business and an amazing brand as well, like, so quickly. I just remember when I was planning my wedding in around 2015, I remember seeing Wedshed popping up then. I'd already chosen my venue.
Oh, that's nice.
But I actually remember you guys reshared a photo from my wedding. And I was like, oh, Wedshed. Oh, my gosh. Wedshed reshared one of my wedding photos. Yeah, it was like
I want to see it.
Yeah, it was a photo from just outside, like at night at Coriol in McLaren Vale. But, yeah, I remember that I was following you guys at the time, and I was like, damn it, why wasn't Wedshed, like, kind of out there when I was actually looking for a venue? Because I obviously had already booked my venue when you guys launched. But, yeah, I wish that this, the service was, what it is today when I was planning my wedding, because it would have been amazing. I was kind of going in trying to figure it all out myself.
Trying to find a venue was so hard for us as well. And your ideas about venues as well. Like, we thought that our dream reception venue was going to be too expensive, and it ended up being affordable because they had different options. It's just
having that
hard.
Service there would have been handy.
Yeah, where we got married, it wasn't a ceremony venue when we got married, but now it is because it became so popular.
No way!
Exciting.
You guys probably put it on the map.
Yes, that was Burbrook. If you know Burbrook,
Forest.
In
with the big tree.
Beautiful. I think that's the thing, when you're solving a problem that that you're going to face as well, it makes it easier because you are your target market.
Yeah.
So we were kind of lucky to be like, well, what do we want? What do we feel like is missing? We're, getting married ourselves at that time.
Yeah.
So that helped kind of shape the product that it is today.
Yeah. It's so helpful and it's so wonderful what you're doing. Like, you're just like taking so much anxiety and stress and worry out for so many couples. Like, it's just, you should be so thrilled with what you have built and what you're doing, because it's just, it's so wonderful.
Yeah.
Oh, shucks. Thank you. That is just so kind. I feel like you guys are incredible because you're literally there on the day making it happen. We're just there to kind of like help steer people in a good direction, but then, hand it over to the true professionals to actually make the days come to life.
Yeah. I think it's good if you can have like a stress-free wedding day, and then also in the lead up, like, I don't know how many people have enjoyed wedding planning, but I don't think it would be like the norm. I think it would be the exception, to be honest. So, but you're helping to create that to become the norm, which is amazing.
Thank you. That's really kind.
So, Amy, you got married in 2015. I would love to know a bit about, like, what was the best thing about your wedding and what you would do differently?
Yes, I got married in 2015, and the venue that we chose was actually just a blank canvas hay shed in the middle of a paddock. So we knew we wanted to get married in a place called Mudgee, which is a really beautiful wine region in New South Wales, and just drove around out there, saw a couple of venues, and they just weren't quite our style. We really wanted something we could put our own stamp on. And so then spotted this hay shed as we were just driving along this road quite in the distance. And so we walked onto the property, and some would say walked onto the property, others might say trespassed. Walked onto the property, found the farmer who owned the property and just were like, please don't call the cops. We're Amy and Chris, like, love that shed. Would you be open to us getting married in it? And don't, you don't need to answer us now. Here's my phone number. Have a think about it. Talk to your family and let us know. And so, long story short, they ended up being the most incredible family and helped us so much pull it together. And we still, because we visit Mudgee regularly, we still go and have a cup of tea with them at their farmhouse, 7 years later. So that's been really nice.
Is that a venue now?
But it was a venue for a year, but it was like I say, it was a blank shed. It literally was that. So it wasn't really a popular one because I think it just was so much work. And that's what we realised at the same time. And, it was like they literally had to clear out the brown snakes from the hay and, there was water on site. But that was literally it. So I think what I would do differently now, knowing the amount of effort and time that has to go into DIY, is I'd probably go for something that was a bit more done for you. But it also depends on, if you have the vision for it, which we did. It was amazing. And we were able to kindly rope in a whole bunch of friends and family to help us bring it together. These days, everyone's busy with family and career and stuff like that. It'd be a very different story. So if I was getting married now, I think our wedding would look extremely differently. I'd probably just pick something that was like a walk-in and get married, and that'd be it. But in terms of, I guess, other things that I would do differently, it'd definitely be doing involving more amazing people to help bring it together. I would dance with my mum more. I feel like that's something that
grandma.
I think it's singling out the really important people in your life and consciously spending more time with them on the day, because that's what really matters. You're catching up with so many people that you probably haven't seen in a really long time, and you can get caught in the small talk and the general chit chat with these people that are still good friends, but they're not the most close people in your life. And you just take for granted that those close people in your life are going to be there all the time. But also, this is a really special day and they want to be felt a part of it. And you want to look back on that day knowing that you've spent your time with those close people too. And so I would be really conscious about that. And to that as well, I probably have made a pact to try and gather together with my husband more. Like, we were lucky that we booked this venue that had no curfew, so we had all night and we literally used it into the wee hours of the morning. But I remember at one point there was like, I haven't seen Chris in like 2 hours or something. Where the heck is my husband? So what I would say is, just be conscious about spending the time with the people that you love and getting together with your partner too. And my last thing that I would do differently is I would have probably try not to get as drunk as I did the night before the wedding, because we went on we organised like a big boozy wine tour the day before, and then that kind of kicked on to like a pub to a small bar.
Wow. So like a hens the day before almost. Yeah.
I swear to God, it was like a pre-wedding wedding. It was so much fun, but the look of my hair and makeup artist the next day when she saw me, I think she was like, we've got a lot of work to do.
And were you feeling sick on your wedding day as well?
Oh, blurry. Yeah, I was feeling a bit fuzzy. I think, the adrenaline kicks in, and that probably kicks a little bit. If it wasn't for me getting married that day, I probably would have spent more time in the bathroom or on the lounge. But you just, you pull your socks up and you get on with it. But, try and just show some self-restraint the day before. Don't be like me. Get overexcited.
You think you can handle it, and then you're like, oh, maybe not.
No, you get caught up in the moment. Yeah.
How was your husband the day before? Did you go to the same wine tour thing, or was it separate things?
Yeah, no, we were all good. He was fine. I think he was probably similar to me. He can kind of, he probably has more of an alcohol tolerance as well, and he was probably a bit more controlled than I was maybe. That said, I know that one of our guests ended up getting arrested that night because he was found walking the streets of Mudgee stark naked.
The night before your wedding?
Night before our wedding. So after the wine tour, after the pub crawl, he somehow lost all his clothes. Like some other mates went to like some random locals person's house party as well.
Oh my gosh.
And it was actually really lucky. The guy who got arrested for being naked in the street, he himself is a lawyer. So he was able to kind of like write himself a letter that got him out of that charge or whatever it might have been.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
Chose the right occupation.
So,
he's like, I'm a lawyer. I can take my clothes off.
Yeah, I have rights.
I'm not going to be restricted by my clothes.
Exactly. Don't deny me of this fundamental right to freedom. Yeah, exactly. So that probably it probably tells you all you need to know about our wedding.
It sounds wild. I wish I was there.
It sounds like so much fun.
Yeah.
It was a good time.
Yeah. Oh, well, that leads me to our last question, which you may have already just answered momentarily. Have you got any crazy or funny wedding stories you can share with us? And that's, whether it's you being a witness to or whether you've heard them through, just your time at Wedshed.
Yeah. Do you know, I feel like what comes to mind for me immediately is actually a sentimental one. So maybe not crazy or funny, but during COVID, we were being contacted by so many different couples that were, really struggling with their wedding planning or, having to postpone their wedding. And there was one couple that came to us and they knew that they really wanted to involve their grandparents and that they were running out of time in order to be able to do that. And so they got married on the front lawn of the retirement village that their grandparents were in, and their grandparents were
so lovely.
looking out the window, sort of bearing witness to the wedding. And I just that for me just gave me shivers, and it'll always strike me as like a reminder that it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter where you get married, what it looks like, just so long as you're involving the people that matter the most to you. Yeah. That's what's going to be special about your wedding. Yeah. So, that's what I would
really
share.
Sweet.
Yeah. And that's what it comes back to as well, is it's the beginning of a marriage. Yeah. And it's so beautiful.
That's totally it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's a life that follows, like everyone says, it is one day. And yes, it's a really awesome day. You want to make it important too. But it pays to think about what it actually means in terms of the promise and the pledge that you're making to be together, and how that kind of sets you up for the rest of your life together, which is the main thing.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, it's not just a party at the end of the day. It's a very special party.
It's a very special party.
Quote unquote. All right. That's going to go down in history, that quote. No,
So thank you, Amy, so much for joining us today, co-founder of Wedshed. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you and talking all things Wedshed and gravy. All the information has just been absolutely incredible. We think you're amazing and what you are doing is absolutely amazing. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ladies. It's been so wonderful to chat to you.
So for our listeners, you can find Amy and the Wedshed team if you head to www.wedshed.com.au, or on Facebook just search Wedshed, or Instagram at Wedshed. And then if you're interested in Gravy Registry, you can head to Instagram and their handle is at GiveWithGravy, and their website is gravyregistry.com, and Instagram at GiveWithGravy. If you're enjoying listening to our podcast and you know someone who's getting married who may benefit from it, please go ahead and share it with them.
If you're loving listening to the podcast, we would love for you to review us on Apple Podcast and Spotify. Thank you for listening to The Wedding Edit, a wedding planning podcast for the modern couple. We'll be back in 2 weeks with our next episode.